Welcome to Great Northern Cascade Division in N-Scale. There is so much light now in the basement, I can't even recognize it. I've got all of the lighting done for the upper deck, and I also have a little bit done on the middle deck just because I had a little bit of extra light and I had that power connector. So there's a couple of other videos that are coming out around about the same time. One of those is kind of talking about some of the challenges of the lighting, some of the design considerations of the lighting. I wanted to split that out into a little bit of a different video discussion. I also then have another video that kind of goes into the specifics of the AC5050 LED lights that I'm using here. So I talk about the actual lights themselves, some of the power connectors for those, the pigtail connectors for those to connect different lights together, different mounting options that you have for them too. I've got all of this from ledsupply.com. There are other places where you can get these. The AC5050 LEDs are available from other vendors, but they had a pretty good price. They come together very well. They're very highly reviewed, and they have all those kind of additional adapters, connectors, mounting rails, things like that. So I hope you enjoy this one as I kind of go through actually installing the lighting. I kind of talk about the process that I went through. There's some time lapse as I actually get it up installed. I think in this video I do about 120 feet or so of lighting, something like that. So all of the upper deck is now done. Very happy with how it turned out. I think it is giving more than enough light. Once the actual trains start running, you can see part of the Empire Builder here behind me. And so I think, you know, I'm gonna probably do a little bit of track work. Maybe that's kind of my next plan. I would like to get something going up on this upper deck, but I think this is definitely the way forward. That's why I did some on the middle deck. I'm gonna go and continue and put AC5050 LEDs on that middle deck, the lower deck in time. It's not going to be right away just because of the cost of doing that and with elbow problems that I've got going on. So I hope you enjoy this one. Let me know what you think. All right, so this is what a lot of money in LED lights ends up looking at. This is 100 feet of those AC5050 LEDs. Though from the previous video I had about 18 feet, and so I was able to do some of it. This is then also the plastic channel that I talked about. I've got one that's already taken out, so it's really just a U-shaped plastic channel. And so the idea is that this will get mounted up like that, and then the light doesn't quite just slide into it. It kind of has to get pushed in, but it'll clip in. A little tight, but again, it seems fairly rigid. So once the plastic track is put up onto the framework, once the strips of LEDs are then put in place, I'm hoping that it kind of solves this problem where it's a little bit droopy if we were just using some of the mounting clips. I'm hoping that I can make it look a little bit cleaner than that. So let's try it out. So this is the first strip up. It's actually still the original strip of LED lights, but now it's using that new plastic track to mount it. So no fascia down, so it might look a little bit weird on the camera just with some of the shadows, just because of the way the LED lights come through, but it's a much cleaner install. It's actually much quicker. So I'll do a little bit of a time-lapse video once I get a little bit more proficient at putting this up, and you can laugh at my elbow as well. But it's really just nail gunned in. The plastic track goes in first, nail gun in to the plywood framework, and then the hardest part is getting the LEDs first seated into the plastic strip. Once you get it into the track, okay, then it just basically just runs through the entire length of it. So I do now still have to figure out how I'm going to kind of support it and how I'm going to connect in for the next set of lights like that, just because of the way the pigtails work, and can't cut them exactly the length. But at least the plastic raceway was a little bit more expensive than just using a strip of wood, or a couple of people had suggested you can get strips of aluminum as well that could do the same kind of thing. Aluminum raceway, and she said yeah, it would work. This is designed to fit straight in though, so again, for the time and effort, given how much has to go in, pretty happy with how that looks. So I'm going to see if I can get next strip done, and then also probably make a start on the center peninsula, and then kind of see how it's looking from there. So this is what it looks like now. Then there's a whole bunch more of these LED strips connected. I do also have one kind of underneath here that's illuminating the second deck. Interesting, if you're going to look at doing these same lights, The first connection point is not hardwired in, but it is already kind of heat shrinked in. So I'm sure you could take that out, and then you would have the same kind of pin connectors that you could plug into. But otherwise, basically, if you order, I don't know, 18 feet and then decide that you want another 18 feet, you will have that power connector connected to it. So you either take it out or kind of realize that you're going to have to use it for something. So I decided that I would run along the bottom there as well. It does run a little bit further down if we kind of drop down. And interestingly, if we kind of look down, the shadowing effects are nowhere near as apparent on the bottom. And I think that's because you're above the height of the LEDs, and so you're not getting the same kind of shadows, whereas if we then pop up, there's a little bit of different effects that come down. I don't know how well it comes through on video. If we move, there we go, now you can start to see it. But anyway, so this is also running all the way down Center Peninsula, one big long 24 plus feet run at this point. Very, very easy to do because, like I said before, you just put the plastic track in and then you literally just roll and push in those LEDs as you go. Super, super quick and easy to do. The power, I kind of talked about these weird little pigtails that they had, so it might be a little bit awkward to see, but basically I took the 6-inch pigtails, cut them in half. I try and reach up with my elbow so you can see. So cut it right around here and then the same on the other side, and then basically just soldered in my own 18 gauge wire, or 16 gauge wire, sorry, which should match the wiring that's already in it. Heat shrinked it up. LEDsupply.com, which is where I got these AC5050 LEDs from. They only oddly make it in 6-inch lengths, 3 feet length, and then I think it's 6 feet and 10 feet. And it's like, well, I kind of need 12 or 18 inch almost. So again, same thing over here. Probably if they had 12-inch, great, that would have worked just fine, but they don't. So that was why I purchased a bunch of those 6-inch ones so that I could then kind of cut and splice my own. But very happy with how this has all come together. I now need to try and figure out how I'm going to get around the end of this peninsula. I think I'm going to have to do some somewhat straight sections, so at the moment it's just kind of hanging out here, but I think I'll end up with straight section, and then can run off down the 24-foot length on the other side. But I might try and figure this part out, come back and look at it, and then do a little bit of a time lapse so you can see how the track goes in place and then how the actual LEDs themselves get installed. So this is what the end then looks like once you cut it off. I don't know how well focused it will be. And then you have these little pins that go through. And so what you want to try and do, I found that you kind of need to squeeze together so that the pins will line up. And you then just push through, which is really hard to do with my elbow since I can't grip. So I'm going to swap to the other side. And that's roughly then what it looks like. It's not perfectly square, but it'll be okay. And then when you plug it into the pigtail, they are polarized. It will only work one way around. So what will probably is fine when I try and plug this in, I'll get it wrong the first time. Nope, I didn't. A little tricky to line the pins up. There we go. Then once they're in place, once they're pushed together, that's pretty much it. So the plastic restware is really easy. You literally just hold it up and I'm nail gunning it. You could screw it in. There are places where I'm screwing into some of these cross pieces like this, why I'm screwing it rather than nail gunning. Going into the plywood, it's just so much easier to nail gun. And the nails, I use 18 gauge nails. Those 18 gauge nails go through no problem. Getting it started, I'm actually going to unplug this because I don't want to generate too much heat in the coil of LEDs while I have them, but at least I know polarization wise. Get them going, you need to leave about an inch or so maybe before you go into the raceway, because when this comes up it's not quite going to fit. I'm actually going to leave a little bit more in this instance. Use a little bit more. Yeah, probably about there will do. And getting it started is a little tricky. Once it's in place, it literally just rolls in like that. And that's pretty much it. And so, you know, when we plug in that pigtail, then it'll go. So I'm going to run down, get all of this connected into the raceway, and then we'll light it up. Also need to figure out cutting the other end at the appropriate length. Alright, so that's pretty much all it takes. I'm going to move the camera a little bit and let's go for a bit of a walk. And it might be a little bit awkward. Let's see, let's try and find one of these joins. Yeah, so right here, I don't know how well it comes across on camera. There's a join right there. And so you'll see I slow down just for a couple of seconds as you kind of have to squeeze in the lights just between it. Yeah, so you probably need to come back through kind of like this and straighten it up a little bit so it's not pointing, but otherwise it goes in really quick. Super duper lucky on this one. I ended up getting to cut it right on the end. So if we come down and look at what the actual cable looks like. So this is a run of the LEDs. I kind of mentioned this before. The LEDs are kind of inside of here, and every 18 and a bit inches you have the little black chevrons like that. That's your cutting mark. You can't just cut these wherever you want, unfortunately. You can only cut them on those black chevrons. So in some places, like you can see over on the other side right here, the lights actually extend about 8 inches past where the corner is, and that's okay because it helps light up. Over here, the chevron actually ended up perfectly on the end, which is not usually how it is gone. So I've got this last short section and then the big 32-foot length to do, but otherwise this is all starting to come together pretty nicely. So kind of taking a step back now so we can see all of the lighting installed on that upper deck, and wow, what a difference that makes. A little bit of an odd blue tint being kind of cast on the video. I'm not sure if that's just the way that the GoPro works, but this is all 500 Kelvin cool white, sorry, 5000 Kelvin cool white lighting. There is no blue tint to it when I'm looking at it in person. The walls are actually very light grey, but on the little screen in the GoPro they come across as a bit of a blue. So not quite sure what's going on there, but again, followed the same process to do the rest of this long 32-foot section as we saw in that kind of time lapse where I went down and did the rest of this center peninsula. A little bit of interesting connection length, I suppose, down on the end here, like I kind of mentioned before, because you can't cut these at the exact lengths that you want. You kind of have to go with whatever lengths that they give you. So in this one particular corner, you got a little bit of a crossover, and I had to make quite a long pigtail connection. Probably ended up almost 2 feet in total. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal once the fascia's down. It does help throw a little bit more light in the corner. You know, Salmon Bay Bridge is going to be coming in here just north of into Bay Yard as you start to head out towards the Everett area. So it'll be kind of nice to have a little bit more light there. And then over here, I maybe just need just one more of those plastic braces to hold it in place, because I used the 90-degree connector. Even though this one came all the way to the end, this didn't, so I had to kind of bend it just a little bit. But again, once the fascia is on, it's going to drop it down beneath the kind of the level that that's at. You won't see it anyway. And you know, imagine that skyboards are going to be up there, so you can't see through. I think overall, again, very impressed with how this turned out. Putting in that plastic railroa to then, you know, install these LED lights was definitely the way to go. Here, I kind of touched a little bit earlier, but didn't run all the way around, just decided to mount it straight across like that. I think at least on this one, on the upper deck, you're going to be coming out of into Bay Yard, heading south, and coming into downtown Seattle just on the other side. So around here, the trans probes aren't going to be near the front of here. They might actually be underground. I might already take them into a tunnel and start building up downtown Seattle around here. Haven't quite decided yet, but that's a little bit more of an easier way to mount the lights on the middle deck and on the lower deck lighting. So this will be the deck for the lower deck, this will be the deck for the middle deck. The lighting can, you know, kind of follow around a little bit more, but I'm quite happy with how that turned out. And so again, there's just so much more light down here. It was a little bit weird that I didn't think it was that dark down here until I kind of put the tops on everything for the lighting framework, and that then took away a lot of the ambient light. So if I come over and flip off the light, this is what the basement looks like. This is kind of what you've seen in the past, and it didn't look that dark at the time, but with the actual layout lighting in place, it really makes a difference. And again, as you can then flip that one light switch on, all of the outlets then come on, all of the lights then connected to that come on. So I do really like these AC5050 LED lights now. Once I figured out the easiest way to mount them, get them actually hanging properly, I maybe need to go through a little bit more and go over that. It needs one little plastic bracket to hold it in place, but again, once the fascia comes down about 4.5 inches, you really won't see that. And I think again, that'll help even more with bouncing a little bit more, reflecting a little bit more of that light back. So there are a couple of other videos that kind of go more in depth into these AC5050 LEDs, the different ways of cutting, mounting, powering them, things like that. And there is also then another little video that starts to get a little bit more about the design considerations, the challenges of running down here, why I went with these AC5050 LEDs. But again, it's your railroad, you can do whatever you want. If you found another lighting solution, then perfect. You know, whatever works, whatever illuminates things enough for you and gets enough lights on the trends that you're happy. But in time, I will go through, kind of like I've already started to do here for the middle deck, I will go through and get the rest of these LEDs in place, but there is quite a bit of cost and time involved in doing that. So that's not my immediate concern, but at least now these are up. I'm happy with how they're looking, and I can start to make additional progress on the upper deck. So do like, subscribe, follow along so that you can see how the rest of the railroad starts to slowly take shape as I'm fighting some problems with my elbow. And hopefully we'll be able to show a little bit more progress at some point soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.